Hi everyone. Let's just have a seat and relax. Okay. All right. Hi. I'm glad you're here. You're at home with Melissa, and the reason I'm doing this video today is actually as a response to a request, well, a few requests. Different people who've been to my house and seen my critters and who have talked to me in different places and things have requested that I do a video to basically share some of the ways that I make caring for many different animals and different species of animal a possibility. And I do have a few things that I do, and you might do them as well. You might do some of these things already. Some of them you might not need to do, and you might say, well, gee, I do all these things completely differently than you do, and my animals are fine and well cared for. And if so, that's great, you know. In fact, if when I give this video, you have some methods that you use that are different than the ones that I talk about, or can expand upon them, there are techniques or there are things that you do that help make your life easier so that you can make life better for your animals. If you wouldn't mind dropping a comment in the comment section, that would really be helpful. I'd really like that. I'd be interested to read it, and I'm sure that other people who are viewers of this channel or of this video would like to see it as well. But I'm going to share with you what I do that makes it possible for me to take care of the animals that I have, because I have a lot of different animals, a lot of different species. They have different needs, and there are different things that I need to do at different times. And to be perfectly honest, I am the most disorganized person you ever want to meet. And so I have two things that I do automatically, and that is as soon as I get out of bed in the morning, I feed all of my animals who get fed every day, and I take my medications, my medicine. That's it. Beyond that, it's a free-for-all. And so I need to have a system in place in order to be able to properly care for all my different animals. And the way I do this is there are a lot of things. First of all, I keep a paper calendar, a wall calendar, not on my phone, not on the computer, a paper wall calendar. I keep it on the wall in my critter room where the majority of my animals live. And the reason for that is that every morning when I walk into the room, it's in a place that I see it. I focus in on it. Knowing its importance, I look at it. I see what's on the agenda for the day, what absolutely has to be taken care of. And that ensures that it gets done. At the bottom, there's a note section, and I've written in the word daily there. The only thing written there after daily is litter, and that's because my cat's litter box isn't somewhere that I necessarily am going to go automatically and say, oh, got to do this. So when I look at that calendar, which I'm in the habit of doing every time I walk into the room, I'll say, oh, yeah, haven't done that yet. And I'll go and I'll take care of it. So that keeps me on track in that way. And I have a lot of aquatic animals, and I like to make sure to change the water in their aquarium. Oh, you guys aren't getting to see the fish. Look, they were hiding behind me. In here I have, they'll come back out where they can be seen. In this tank I have two immature Oscars and a Pleco. And they're a lot of fun to watch. But they're camera shy. Crazy little guys, come on. Anyway, yeah, easily distracted. That's where the calendar comes in handy. I come in the morning, it says what I need to do. On there I have written anything that needs to be done on a regular basis or that I know is coming up. For example, I change the water in any water tanks I have at least once every 2 weeks. And this includes the ones that I consider the tanks that don't need to be changed. And those are ones that the water parameters, the things you test for, are seriously, you test for ammonias and nitrates, and the ammonias and nitrates in those tanks always measure right. So for those things, you don't have to change those tanks. But I change them every 2 weeks anyway. You know, unless I get really, really super busy and go, oh my gosh, I absolutely can't. Well, then I might skip a changing of that water and, you know, just fill it up as it needs it to compensate for loss due to evaporation or drinking them by the plants. And the reason I change those every 2 weeks as well is that you could have fungi or bacteria or anything else growing in there that are things that you don't and can't measure for. So it's good to keep that water fresh. And changing them every 2 weeks in addition to having the filtration systems on them, that helps do that. And if you're looking in this tank and you're saying, okay, girlfriend, you have Oscars in here and you're running a sponge filter. Yeah, I know, a sponge filter is not sufficient for an Oscar fish. They're heavy poopers. Sponge filters are good for small fish and crustaceans, delicate fish, things like that. Oscars, you need something more. These guys, in addition to the sponge filter, which gives helpful bacteria a place to colonize, they have an aquaponics system above them. Water is taken from their tank up into a grow bed above me, where it goes through the roots of plants and is returned then to the tank, having been cleaned of excess nutrients and oxygenated. So that helps as well. They're also going to have a sump system in the future. So don't worry, guys. I'm not just running a sponge filter in there. But I write on my calendar every 2 weeks all of my aquarium changes. Now, I don't do them all in one day. I wouldn't be able to do them in one day. It would just take more time than there is. And I also don't want it to be an onerous task. I like doing water changes. Yeah, they can take an inordinate amount of time to do, especially if you're doing things the old-fashioned way. I suggest that if you can, you either automate or semi-automate some of the water change process. And this includes anything from setting up a centralized filtration system to the aquaponics to using those siphons you can buy that you attach to your kitchen sink, and you can switch between one setting which takes the water out of the tanks and the other setting that adds water to the tanks. Those save you an awful lot of time. I don't have many of these things in place yet, but will as time goes on. For now, doing the water changes, I schedule things so that I have everything really divided up. Each of my 75-gallon tanks, one gets changed every other Friday, the other every other Monday. My small tanks, that's anything under 20 gallons, they get changed every other, I think, every other Monday between those two. And likewise, my 55-gallon tank, once every 2 weeks. I have all this written on my calendar. And if you have animals who get their bedding changed, whether it be every other day or every other week or every week, put that on your schedule as well. Veterinary appointments, write them on your schedule. And if you have, say, if you're breeding animals, you know that once this particular step happens, then you're going to, in X amount of time after, you're going to be looking for the next step in the process to happen. So you'll want to put at the earliest date you can reasonably expect that, put that on your calendar as well, so that you know in your mind that you're going to have to allot time for this second step once it happens. And you also want to put things on your schedule like buying food for your animals and anything like that, buying supplies, beddings, anything you need. Set up an amount of time that goes between purchasing. Say you're buying it once a month. Put that date on your schedule, okay? All of this on your calendar, right where you see it, every day. You're sure to do it. And then in addition to that, wherever possible, have excess supplies on hand. Have additional bedding. Have additional food. Have various kinds of food. And what you want to do with your food also is each time you buy it, say you buy it once a month, you want to buy a month's worth at that time. But you want to have a reserve on supply, and you want to use them in according to their expiration date. That way, you always have that extra. even if you've used some of your reserve, if you're buying a month's supply on that scheduled date or as near to it as possible every month, then you always have that reserve in order. You're using it in order of the expiration date, keeping the reserve in the rotation as well. That way you're sure that your animal's food is never expired or old. And another thing to do, like I said about keeping different kinds of food on hand, I have, for example, since I have a lot of fish and some of them will eat other fish, I have pollock and things like that frozen in the freezer. I can take that out, thaw it, and cut it into pieces for my fish. I have earthworms that I raise for them as well. I have my earthworms feeding, since I don't necessarily feed them every day. I have that on my calendar. And all of this helps. Also, I have vegetables that I grow for myself and my animals who eat vegetables. I have on hand, someone gave me a bag of dog food, and I don't have a dog, but I do have fish who can eat ground up dog food. So I put it through a Cuisinart, put that in a gallon jar, airtight, saving that should I need it, and keeping track of the date on that as well. And so I always have all these different backup systems to my backup systems. So I never run into a situation where I've run out of something and it's a sudden emergency. I have to go somewhere and buy something for them. That doesn't happen. And if you can avoid that happening, it's going to save you not only a lot of time and make sure that you can take care of your pets, it's going to save you a lot of aggravation as well. And I'm trying to set up basically a self-sustaining system in the sense that each of my foods have foods and everything that I need is here, and I produce it at the house so that I don't have to buy anything ever. And I think I've pretty much got it almost to that point. The only failure in my system being me. I do have pellets and flakes on hand, and quite often I'll use those instead of using the things that I grow. And, you know, so that's my own failure. So I do fail with that. But another way to simplify things for yourself, automate where you can. If you have a cat, there are a lot of automated litter boxes out there. There are water fountains for different animals that can keep the day's water fresh. There are automated, you can set up systems to automate the changing of water for your water changing of tanks. If you have large farm animals, there are certain things you can automate with that. If it's feasible financially and things like that, set up automation where you can to make things easier for you so that you know they get taken care of no matter how busy you are. Excuse me for a second. I felt that coming for a while. But, so you want to do that, and that'll save you some trouble. In addition to that, if you can set up a system where you get fresh water piped right to where you'll need to use your water. For example, if you have a fish room or a critter room, and you can set up a sink, a utility sink in that room, that'll save you a lot of trouble with cleanups and or water changes, bowl changes, things like that. Likewise, animals outside, if you have fresh water piped in to near them, that will save you some trouble there. If you have animals outside in raised pens, their waste falls down, you shovel it off the ground. You might want to use that in a compost pile, really good compost. Have your compost pile near those pens if you can. And have the compost pile and the pens as near to your garden as you can. Saves you steps, saves you effort. Likewise, any tools or supplies that you use for your animals, store them as near to where you use them as you possibly can. Anything, for example, that I use in my critter room, I store in my critter room. My worms have a bedding of shredded newspaper. Right next to the tubs in which I keep the worms, I keep a box of newspaper. So it's right there, handy, ready to use. All of these things help me to organize things better and to make things as simple as possible so that whenever I need to do anything for my pets, I can do it. I also like to, if I can, keep backups of anything I might need mechanically that could go wrong. For example, if you have different filters or heaters or lights and you can keep spares on hand should any of those break down or burn out, it's really in your best interest and your pet's best interest to do so. And let me think. That's all that's coming to mind right now, but those are things that I do, or things that are similar to things I do, that you can employ to help make your life easier and your pet's life a little bit better, because you're able to keep up with everything that you need to do for them. And if you have any ideas that you want to add to this, or anything that you do that I haven't mentioned, please put it in the comment section. Again, to recap, the most important things as I see them: keep a calendar. Write anything important on that calendar, anything you must do on that calendar, and make sure you check that calendar every day or several times a day. Keep backups of any supplies you can, and keep your tools as near to where you use them as you possibly can. Those things will all make things a lot easier on you. So anyway, I hope I was able to help you, and I hope that you tune in again for future episodes. In the meantime, just enjoy your life and enjoy your time. Live, love, and learn as much as you can. And I'll talk to you next time. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.